Hariom yogis. We have an interesting topic today. Today's topic falls under the category of anecdotes and parables, spiritual anecdotes and parables. But before we begin, let's start as usual with our 3 ohms, with our back straight, eyes closed, mouth closed, and body still. Let's breathe in. Very well. Let's place our hands together. Let's close our eyes, close our mouth, and observe a moment of silence and stillness. Very well. So today's topic goes under the category of spiritual anecdotes and parables. Today we are going to go into the parable of Uber. Some of you may know I drive with Uber here and there. So this one occurred to me a couple of nights ago as I was working, and a few things happened. So, if you have the app Uber, from the user side, you, let's say, want to go somewhere, maybe you don't have a car or you don't want to take your car with you. So you put the address where you're at, the address where you're going, and the application gives you the estimated price. Then you decide whether or not you want to take it. If you do, you order it. The ride is assigned to a driver, and within a few minutes, hopefully, your Uber driver, your car is there to take you to your destination. On the driver's side, basically we turn on the application, showing that we are active, that we are working, that we are available. And so many people that have the app in the neighborhood or area that we happen to be at, when they order, the app checks with the GPS who's closest by, which driver is closest by that is available, and that is given to them, that call, that request. If a couple of drivers are in the same area in relatively the same distance, then the app decides, okay, who's been here the longest available, we gotta call them and gives it to them. You receive the call, we go pick you up and take you to your destination. So now let's bring that to how that applies to yoga, to meditation, to spiritual development, and these kind of things, which is what this channel is mostly about. So let's say you are just regular, normal, everyday, day-to-day person, and somewhat, somehow, maybe you heard something, maybe you've seen someone, maybe you were exposed to something that you read or a particular environment, or just your natural inquisitive nature, you start to wonder, to ask yourself these questions. Who am I? Where do I come from? Where do I go? Where will I go after death? Is there a God? If there is, how can I realize Him? How can I maximize or use to the most my own body, my own mind, my emotions? And you start on this search, on this journey of wanting to be a better, more complete human being. You start to know and notice that it is more than just birth, growth, reproduction, and death. Because all animals do this. So you want something more, something higher. And so this naturally, this desire within to improve, to grow spiritually, to achieve higher levels of spirituality, or within your mind or within your body. So when this desire to grow, to leave some things behind, some limitations behind, to set in a focused, straightforward direction, when this desire is strong enough, consistent enough, that activates the the Uber. Let's just say that, the universal Uber, because you want to head somewhere, you want to head in a direction, you know that there's something more, and you're searching. Maybe you know that on your own it is virtually difficult or virtually impossible to make it happen, to go to these, to reach these certain levels that you're looking to experience, to realize. And so when that desire is there, is strong enough, is sincere enough, is consistent enough, system activated. Now all around us, there are these, let's call them beings, some with bodies, with physical bodies like you and me, some without, that are there to help us, waiting. They're available, waiting for people to have a sincere desire so that they can take them to their destination, so they can guide them to where they need to go. And so they feel attracted. The desire is there, the sincerity is there. It's been a desire long enough, consistent enough, intense enough, activated. Now those beings approach. That is like your Uber driver. And these beings may have a body, a physical body. These beings may be with no body. Kind of like people say, like guardian angels and spirit guides, or gurus, or masters, acharyas, devas, all of these kind of things. Could be just yogis or people with a certain level of spirituality. They feel drawn towards particular places, particular people, particular organizations, because that's where the desire, the intensity is coming from. And they are there for that. They are there to help. Now, coming back to the Uber analogy, the other night when I was working, when this parable occurred to me, So I was working in Manhattan. A call came in. So I'm following the GPS going to where it's telling me to pick up this passenger. But when I'm approaching the destination, I see that it is a kind of difficult, tricky kind of place. It seems to be like a small street behind a school. Looks like there's a park or a garden in that direction. But the street that the GPS is guiding me to go through is, it says, it has a big sign there that says do not enter. Not only that, you see all the cars facing in the direction, so it's a do not enter, a one way, but either way, it's telling me to go in that direction, the GPS. It's telling me that's where the passengers are. So at that time, as a driver, I have some decisions to make. I can call the passenger, try to coordinate with him or her. Hey, I'm not able to reach you where you're at. Where exactly are you guys? Can you guys come? But I'm also looking at the traffic conditions where I happen to be at. There's a light nearby, a traffic light nearby. The traffic is a little bit hectic. And so it is not, I consider that it wasn't the time or place for me to call and figure out and wait, and maybe they pick up, maybe they don't. Maybe I have to wait for them to come. Maybe I have to move some. So it was a bit more complicated than it needed to be at the moment under the conditions of the traffic. So I decided to take another alternative, cancel the call. So I canceled the call and I even turned off the system a little bit, drove some distance away because I didn't want them to order again, and then because I'm close, it will get me again. I didn't want to deal with that particular call because it was too complicated in the wait to get there. And the people were obviously not there. Sometime later, coincidentally, I picked up another call, and it just so happened that it's taking me driving by the same street where this situation previously happened. Where the street was narrow and it was like behind a little garden, or behind a school somewhere, and it said do not enter, but the GPS is taking me that way. So I was driving by there again, now with a passenger. And I see that there's another driver. He went in. He went into that street, but now then he realized that no, this wasn't a good move, and then he's trying to back up, but the traffic is a problem, and he was. It looked like a little bit of a sad scene. The guy was in a jam. Let's just say that. Problems for himself and from others around him because he was he was somewhere where he wasn't supposed to be. Now, anybody else looking at the situation, they will be like, what is this guy doing? The sign clearly there says do not enter, and he's going in. What a fool he is or she is. What a mistake or blunder he's making or she's making, trying to get in there. I mean, come on. Can't you read? But me, because I had gone through a similar situation, I understood when I saw the scene exactly what was happening. And I wasn't so harsh in my judgment. So now let's bring this back to how that applies again to spiritual life, to yoga, to meditation, to all these things that we're talking about. The location where you locate yourself, your position, how you locate yourself within your heart, the position you take within your mind, the attitude you have, the purity of your body, of your mind. This is all where our positioning is. And the position makes a big difference. Your location makes a big difference as to how quickly, how smoothly, how easily the help may arrive to you. This happens also when there's Yankee games. So there's a game of the Yankees here in the Bronx. I'm working with Uber. Now, they are passengers that are experienced and smart enough that they know that they block a lot of streets near the Yankee Stadium when these games are going on. And so if they order an Uber, like very close to the stadium, because that's where they were just watching the game, it was going to make it very difficult for drivers to arrive there. So what do? They walk 5, 6, 7 blocks, even if it's raining, even if it's snowing. They do this because they know that the driver will pick them up quicker. Because if not, what's going to happen is they're going to get a lot of cancellations from drivers. Because also there are drivers that are experienced. That if they see, okay, this is the location where they're at, if there's a Yankee game today, nope, cancel the call. I don't want I don't want to have to deal with that, going through the blockages, and I won't be able to go down this block, and then the traffic, and then it can happen also the way that it has happened to me, where I decide, okay, I committed. I decided that this person I'm gonna pick up is being hard, and then I'm spending 20 minutes just to pick up this person, right? And then when you get there and you manage to pick them up, now you have the same issues to leave, to exit the area. So how we position ourselves within our minds, within our hearts, with our attitude, with our humility, with our sincerity, with our truthfulness, this makes it very easy for the help to reach you. But if we do not position ourselves properly within, and sometimes even without, if we do not position ourselves appropriately, the help will have such a hard time getting there. Some of those beings, they say, no, cancel the call. Let somebody else deal with that. Or let them learn that, they need to learn how to position themselves properly in order to receive and be helped and be guided. Also, within the same example, is the issue of when we see someone going through something, or when we see a particular situation, kind of like that car going back and forth in that street. He was having a hard time blocking traffic a little bit. If we do not know what's going on, we may be a little harsh in our judgment because we do not have the experience, the knowledge to understand the situation. And then we tend to jump into some conclusions and say certain things without knowing, without understanding. But what a fool he or she is. That, obviously you shouldn't cross this line, you shouldn't go that way. It says do not enter. But you do not know that is the way that the GPS is guiding him. And so unless we know, unless we understand, it is usually best to don't jump so quickly into conclusions. Because we may be missing part of the picture. And then we tend to make these blunders. But that's all part of our growth, right? When we make these blunders and we make these mistakes, We get our karmic beatings or spiritual beatings, let's just say that. And then, we learn. This is one of the purposes of this channel, that hopefully, yeah, we all make mistakes, but by sharing some of these stories, some of these parables, some of these anecdotes, then maybe we can be inspired to, you know, do better, do more, or inspired to stay where we're in the path that we're at, and also learn from the mistakes that we share in these stories and anecdotes, and be aware and mindful in our relationship with others, in how we deal with things, that these mistakes have been made, they're there, and we don't need to make them, we can learn from them. That way it will save us some time and make our ride, our universal Uber ride, a little more smoother. So how we position ourselves is one. Now, this is a lot of the gurus and the teachers and the instructors and the guides and the acharyas. These are the instructions. The instruction is basically positioning yourself well. Start cleaning up your system. A certain diet will help. These kind of activities, practicing your breathing exercises, your pranayamas help, your meditation regularly, all of these things. Try to do karma yoga, assist in the center, service, because these kind of things are positioning you in a way that the help is easier for. There's less obstacles in getting to you, and less obstacles in leading you in the direction that you're headed. Because now these guides, these gurus, these masters, these yogis that are there guiding, they don't have to, one less thing. I don't have to deal with purity of body. These people are already more or less, you know, they're vegetarian, they're this, they're that. Oh, I don't have to deal with the ego issue so much, because they're more or less a level of humility that, oh, great, there's one less obstacle that I need to deal with getting there and getting out. Oh, they're already more or less disciplined doing this. Okay, that's one less thing, one less roadblock to deal with, like this. The position, your location within. And I said, like I said, also without sometimes. This is why some of the yogis and masters, they seclude. They are in places far, where there's some level of peace and a particular kind of environment. Because yes, the most important is the location within, but sometimes the location without also affects. All kinds of noises, all kinds of smells, all kind of environment, kind of people doing this and that. It can be an issue as well. So all of these things we need to take into consideration. And then once you are being guided, once you're in the Uber, it's important to be polite, be quiet, be friendly. Because it has happened. People get kicked out of the Uber. Now they feel entitled or whatever. Out. Let somebody else pick you up. You do not want to be in that position. Your rating will go down. Less people are likely to pick you up because they don't want to deal with these kind of issues. So I think that would be my message for today. Location, 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 in essence, right? Position yourself well. Let that desire to grow, to be sincere enough, be strong enough, consistent enough to keep that active. And once we recognized and found someone that can help us a little bit along the way, behave in a certain way to make sure that you remain from beginning to end on the ride to where you want to go, right? All right, let's end this today as usual with our 3 ohms. It's back straight, breathe in. Hari Om, yogis.